Hello, and I hope you're all well. Today I will be showing you how to make 3 pieces of art that I made during this week. The first portrait is of an NHS worker that I connected with through Instagram. It is a ballpoint pen scribble piece inspired by Winslow. The second piece is of a hedgehog that my friend's cousin requested to be painted. It's a pet portrait from my shop, and it is in watercolour. And the third is a remake of my black and white patterned panda that is up in my shop. So now I'll be going through the equipment that you will need. Firstly, you will need a black ballpoint biro pen. It can be of a different colour if you wanted it to be. Next, you will need a pencil. I use a 2B pencil because I find that easiest to draw with. Thirdly, I use a black gel ink pen to outline certain areas for my watercolour paintings. It's also always useful to have a rubber with you. I use one that I got from Japan, which I find very effective. And also a sharpener, because obviously it's easier to work with sharper pencils. And finally, watercolour paints. These are very old and they're all dried up, but obviously I can still use them. I don't take very good care of my paints, and I don't suggest that you do the same. Also, I would recommend getting some actual watercolour paint in tubes instead of those on tins, because I find those quite bad quality and harder to work with. If you thought I was finished, you're wrong, because you need a grubby food container, add some water. If you want to be sustainable, go outside and get some water from the rain. And some brushes. I have quite a range of brushes that I stole from school. I mean, I didn't really steal them, I just intended to bring them back, but coronavirus happened. And a disgusting paint palette, apparently. So here, firstly, you want to make outlines of the image that you're drawing. I used a pencil and a rubber, pressing down lightly. I found it particularly difficult to draw the mouth. I just couldn't get it right. If you don't want to struggle like me, you can always use a light box or a bright window, or print the image on using something like graphite or oil pastels, both of which you will need a suitable size printout of the image that you want to draw. So now I've already started using my biro pen. There isn't a particular technique, you just have to identify the dark shady areas of the image. It's easier if you print it out black and white so you can see the contrast more clearly, and you scribble, you concentrate your scribbles mainly on the dark areas. And what I like about this technique is that even if you mess up, you can easily hide it because everything is basically messy, but if you do it right, it turns out quite cool looking. If you want to see more of the technique, you can look at Winslow's art pieces. He has some really cool portraits in scribble style. If you're interested, there's a thing going around on Instagram where artists draw portraits of NHS heroes for free. You can look at these here. So now I've started the hedgehog. It's important to have a picture next to you to refer to while you draw the outlines. The spikes especially don't have to be neat at all, because even if you don't follow the pattern strictly, it still looks like hedgehog spikes. Now I'm starting to paint the spikes. I used a thinner brush and darker paint because I found that it looked bolder and cooler that way. In contrast, I used a lighter peach colour for the nose and the hands. I then went over some areas with my black ink, such as the nose and the fingers and some of the spikes, to bolden the areas a bit, and filled the surroundings with dark green and a bit of brown to bring a bit of colour to the painting. It might be because I'm using cheap watercolour paper, which I forgot to mention in the beginning, but it usually bends around a bit because of the watery substance, so I place something really heavy on top to flatten it out, ready for dispatch. Now onto the panda. Again, we're going through the outlines. You can do it freehand if you want to, but I find it easier to go over outlined pictures with paint. And patterns, you can either look up some cool patterns online or you can make some yourself. And I quite like these black and white paintings because it provides quite a bit of contrast and some nice depth using the grey. Then all I do is dip the brush into water a bit to lighten the black, and so I can draw some of the fur patterns onto the panda. Now guess what this was for? It was my DIY stand for filming these painting videos. I put my paper here and I hanged my phone up here, half hanging off the edge, not enough to fall off. This is actually quite wobbly. It sort of gave me quite a bit of anxiety. I don't know if it does to you, but this is my genius idea, without using any money, to film my art. I hope that was somewhat satisfying to watch, and hopefully that has inspired you to do some art during quarantine. Bye!